All right, we are back for another week.
Well, less than a week.
Yeah, we make things up.
Time doesn't matter here.
But, Nintendo Direct today, so...
Yes, there was.
We're trying to be topical. This still won't show up for another, month, but that's okay.
That's okay. We're sad, pathetic people. Alright, so do you want to just jump into that, or do you want to do the weeks first, or...
I think we just jump into that, because I think it hasn't really been that long.
Well, I did actually get some stuff, but we'll talk about that later.
Alright.
Okay. So the most important thing that Nintendo Direct talked about was the new Fire Emblem game!
So yes, they did reveal a new Fire Emblem game. It looks very, very, very similar to Fire Emblem Awakening. I think the only difference is they had sort of more of a feudal Japan-ish theme going on.
Well, actually, that's actually a point I wanted to bring up, because that's a huge departure from basically every other Fire Emblem game.
Well...
No, because here's the thing.
If you notice, there were still all the guys with the regular Fire Emblem
look, but in the whole art style...
all the main characters seem to be, samurai, and that was weird to me. It was kind of this weird juxtaposition, because you see, the two main characters up on the hill being these samurais, and everyone else around them is European knights.
I think that's just the sprite style.
Yeah, well, they are... that's what I mean. They're taking the sprites from... It looks like they're just reusing the sprites from Awakening. Worse things have happened. It's not a big deal.
Well, I think it's really interesting because Fire Emblem has always been, this is a Japanese... Okay, you know how Dark Souls is? This is what a Japanese developer thinks old school Western RPGs are like.
Yeah, this...
Tomb of Forgotten Horrors or whatever.
Yeah, this is how they sort of looked at...
This is how they see old school D&D.
Their D&Ds and whatnot, yeah.
So Fire Emblem has always been... This is how they see... old fantasy... old medieval stories from the West. This is how they see them.
Yeah, so this is how they see their old European war stories.
Yeah. Their old King Arthurs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, King Arthurs and Joan of Arc's and all that good stuff, yeah.
So, the fact that it's now, oh, hey, we're gonna do it medieval Japanese history instead is kind of a big departure.
Yeah, well, of course, this is all speculation at this point. They could just decide, hey, we're gonna drop a random samurai in Middle Europe, or
it's just
vice versa.
The whole art style just seems very different.
Well, to me, the art style seems exactly the same, but the direction is different.
The art direction.
So I think that we should be very clear. They are definitely reusing the sprites and the assets.
Although, one of the girls there just looks like she was wearing a straight-up maid outfit. Did you see that?
Yeah, there were a lot of weird things going on there.
It's okay, you're wearing a maid outfit. You're not wearing that into battle, are you?
You know what? Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Everyone remembers the bride, right?
You know what? I was actually gonna try to justify that, but I can't.
I think the way I see that is, if you look at Fire Emblem Awakening, the core game, without all of its DLC, is a really solid DLC. And they actually did a good job with the DLC, because it's all extra fan service that really doesn't belong in the regular game. Wait,
the core game is a solid DLC?
No, the core game is a solid game. It's a solid Fire Emblem title, but the DLC is all extra and fluff and fan service. And they did a pretty good job balancing the two, where I never felt like I have to pay for the DLC to figure out what happened, and instead, I get to pay the DLC to pretend like I'm in Smash Brothers, but in the Fire Emblem world, or pay the DLC to watch my cute girls in bikinis.
Watch your waifu in a bikini?
Yep. All about that Tharja.
God, you have such shit taste.
Everyone loves Tharja.
No, nobody does love Tharja.
Everyone loves Tharja.
Everybody in Japan does.
Well, you know what? I'm okay with that. They're making the games.
Whatever. Speaking of Fire Emblem, guess what's coming out in 2015?
Which one? There were a lot of reveals here.
Fire Emblem Cross SMT.
Did they actually give a date?
They gave a year.
Alright, so they did give a year. Because I watched that whole thing.
This wasn't in the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, I watched the whole Nintendo Direct just waiting with bated breath. Are they going to show anything with SMT cross Fire Emblem.
They are not.
And they did not show any trailers or anything new. But I'm guessing you said they showed a date. I don't know.
They showed some posters of games coming out in 2015. You had the Captain Toad, you had the Mario Maker, and they have the Fire Emblem Cross SMT coming out this year.
All right. So.
And it's going to be a Wii U exclusive, actually.
I would hope so, since it's Fire Emblem characters.
Well, I was hoping for a 3DS version, but...
Yeah. I don't know, I'm fine with a Wii U version, especially if they take Fire Emblem gameplay, because Lord knows I miss my GameCube Fire Emblem. But yes, so moving on from, of course, the Fire Emblem.
That's all I care about, so whatever.
Well,
they did have some Splatoon
yes, so
stuff.
that was what I was going to jump into, Splatoon.
Still looks good.
I remember when they revealed this at E3, of all the things in E3, Splatoon was the one that stood out as, like, the next big thing for me personally. So there was a lot going on there, but... So I've followed this game, and now this reveal, everything about it just looks so great. It has that sort of I want to say like a Jet Set Radio kind of aesthetic going towards it.
I don't think it's that far.
Cross squids.
I don't think it's that far to Jet Set Radio, but...
Well, yeah, Jet Set Radio is very into its...
Yeah, it's very into its thing.
It's thug life of roller skating to hit music. But it does have a lot of the very similarities. Lots of bright colors, a nice aesthetic to it. We got the really upbeat music.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it is a Nintendo-made shooter.
It's not a shooter, though. Just like Smash Brothers is not a fighting game.
Yeah, it's still a shooter. You're shooting things. It's
well, it's a bit more. It's actually a bit more complicated than that for once, because your points aren't coming from the number of kills you get.
Well, yeah, like they've done these before, and everyone classifies these kind of color wars as shooters. So
yeah, fair enough. But
it is a third person, as far as we know, a third person shooter
game.
So coming out of Nintendo is a weird new thing. I'm not sure.
Which means nobody's going to play it.
How many shooters they've done? They've done like Metroid, but that's about as far as they've gone. Maybe the Fox
Star Fox
Assault. Yeah, Star Fox Assault.
Which never happened. I don't know what you mean.
That game wasn't that bad.
It wasn't.
3DS one was bad.
3DS one at least had you fucking flying ships and not chasing after some pink, purple, whatever furry.
Look, the one we all agree doesn't exist is, of course, the GameCube one, where Fox touched the ship for 10 seconds and spends the rest of the time talking to Kratos.
And on the ground, fuck it.
But, so yeah, Splatoon, that game actually looks like it's coming along really well. They showed a nice a hub world. Bringing back the hub world is a weird call for them, but I think it works really well to the aesthetic. It lends this sort of like the city feel, because if you notice, it was less like the retro Puck, its own world, and it's more trying to model itself around one of the Japanese hip districts like Shiba.
I didn't really notice that, but I could see it.
Yeah, so it seems like they're sort of going for that thing, especially with choosing your own clothing, and along with having its own, sort of indie-ish kind of rogue aesthetic, and of course, squids.
You gotta keep track of the squids.
Very important, these squids.
I wonder if you can pick your color. Like, your generic color, because that'd be fun.
Yeah, because that's a weird thing, because it looks like the multiplayer, you're teamed up with your color, so I don't know if you swap colors or if you
I think
one
you
color.
Swap colors, but judging...
You probably pick a color for your hub world,
yeah.
And then once you join a match, you swap your colors.
Or they swap to you, like, it randomizes.
Yeah, Either way,
I'm actually, that is something I did notice, that we have more colors. We have like a cyan and a...
yes, yeah, they have a lot of colors running in this game. Looks like they'll have a nice amount of user created good stuff.
That's always nice.
But yeah, so Splatoon, I'll probably be checking it out. It said it was coming like May, which is really soon.
Really? Well, it's not that graphically intense either, though.
Well, everything running on a Wii U compared to other consoles is not that graphically intense.
But I mean, look at Mario Kart and tell me that's not,
Mario Kart's actually pretty intense.
No, I'm saying it's really pretty, but it's not graphically intense. It's got, like... They spent all the money that would have gone to making the zippers shine just right into making cute little background things look good.
Well, a lot of that, even though they're hardware, and a lot of those are actually pushing the console, from what I understood. Because obviously they won't look as great compared to Xbox One or PS4 screens, but... Well, because they are, the Wii U is essentially a glorified PS3 with a bit better of a GPU, which allows for a lot more of those colors that we like.
Well, even I'm just saying, with a lot of racing games or a lot of sports games, you still get the 2D background person problem, and you don't really have that with the new Mario Kart.
No, they don't really have a whole lot of background people at all.
Well, yes, but
yeah, like they put all their GPU into having their pretty beautifully aesthetics, karts, and
they put all their GPU
riders.
They put all their GPU into harvesting the tears of
into
F-Zero.
The blue shell. They put it all into the blue shell, so you see it perfectly as all your hopes disappear,
or as all your hopes disappear for another F-Zero game.
Yeah. But yeah, so apart from that, for me, they announced another wave of amiibos. So
I see you have a Lil Mac somewhere.
Yeah, so I got my Little Mac finally came in. I've got all of them ordered except for this new wave they have announced, and now I'm sort of with bated breath waiting for them to show up online so I could pre-order them. Because I don't know if you know, another thing they announced, the new 3DS.
I heard about this before. I'm tempted to get one. I'm laughing my ass off because that's the worst fucking name I've ever heard.
Nintendo, I think we've said this before, but Nintendo, please stop naming things.
We might have talked about it a little bit, but by God, what'd you get? A new 3DS? Oh, one of the new ones?
A new 3DS, or just a new 3DS? Like
yes, third base.
It's a little confusing. But of course, so why I bring that up is I don't know if you noticed one of the specific items that they revealed, the Majora's Mask 3D new 3DS for American. Regardless of whether you like it or not, it's already sold out on GameStop.
Fair enough.
It came out today.
See, I've never been a fan
Like, from what I've read, it popped out in 15 minutes. They pulled it up, and then it was sold through.
I heard the special edition for Canada was gone in 4 hours.
Yeah, well, ours was gone in 15 minutes, so...
Well, Canada's got, like, half our population, so...
Well, that's probably us buying from Canada.
Or Canadians.
But yeah, so...
I'm gonna...
Again, Nintendo is yet again showing maybe they aren't exactly supplying enough of these products for release.
Well, how many products exactly would you have to put out there? Because it's Majora's Mask. It's not Ocarina of Time, but Majora's Mask, I feel... Okay, aside from the initial little bit of criticism of it, I feel like a lot of people, especially after that whole... never mind, that was Ocarina of Time. Majora's Mask, I feel like people really appreciate now, but because they were dismissive of it before, they want to go back and actually play it and enjoy
it. I've seen this thing, and it's mostly held true for Zelda games that upon release, people normally are not that fond of Zeldas because they change things, and then over time...
They change things in Zelda games?
Well, you remember Wind Waker, everyone hated the art. Majora's Mask, everyone's like, why is it all young Link? Twilight Princess, they were like, it's too dark, the bosses are easy. Skyward Sword, waggle controls. Who knows what we're going to hate the new Legend of Zelda for.
I already know what we're going to hate the new Legend of Zelda for.
Please share.
Open world.
Open world.
Easy peasy, bucking easy.
But over time, eventually people just kind of like, I guess, get over themselves, and what we used to like think was the controversial Zelda is now the cult classic Zelda. I don't know whether that's the people who don't like it just finally give up and say, alright, whatever, you guys can have fun. Or, people start to say, in hindsight, you know what, that really wasn't that bad. But yeah, so, new 3DS, it has I've heard it called the nipple for the C-Stick. Because it is very small. I don't know. I'd like to feel one of those, see how it,
So you like to feel nipples, then?
I am a man.
That doesn't mean anything.
But, so I'd like to see how one of those feels. I would have liked to get one of, actually, the Majora's Masks. But that may not happen. They should, apparently it's going to come out in other retailers. They just haven't put it up yet, so it's not officially sold out, just for GameStop. But if I can't get that, I might get a Monster Hunter one.
I don't get Monster Hunter. I'm sorry. I don't get it.
Well, Monster Hunter 4 is coming out, and maybe it's about time you get with it. Because Monster Hunter is one of the best games out there if you can put in the time and effort. Not so much in a fighting game sort of way that you have to like master the muscle memory, but you have to put in the time to finally get that one gear item that took you 4 hours to finally find.
Oh, so it's grinding.
Grinding not in the sense of like leveling up, but grinding in the sense that you may have to do the same boss 3 or 4 times to finally get the drop you want.
So grinding in the MMO sense.
Yeah, grinding in the MMO sense.
Yeah, I find grinding kind of zen, so,
But, one of the things about this, they are all fun. I will never get tired of fighting monsters. It is challenging but fair in sort of the Dark Souls sense. In fact, I would say they probably took a lot of the gameplay stylings from Monster Hunter when they made Dark Souls. A lot of the dodging and the looking for tells, that's all very classic Monster Hunter. Very classic video games, but...
Fair enough. Was there anything else in the Nintendo Direct?
There was a couple things. I like to say Mario Party 10. I don't know if you've kept up with that at all.
Is it going to have Amiibo support?
It is going to have Amiibo support, so that's sort of where the issue comes in. If you've followed Mario Party 10 at all, one of the things they've done with Mario Party 9 and now they're doing with Mario Party 10 is that rather than all the characters being on their playboard and then you roll a dice and you move around, everyone's in the same kind of car and you move around the map together. And when I played Mario Party 9, it was just not as fun. You felt like you didn't have a whole lot of agency in what was really going on. You just had, X many turns until the car gets to the end of the road. But what almost looks like sort of a concession to us classic Mario Party fans.
AKA people who have much more time.
People who got the stigmata back on the N64.
People who have too much time and don't want to spend 4 hours waiting for 3 turns.
It still took about just as long.
Yes, but there's a difference because you can pretend like it's going faster. With with the everybody does a separate person type of thing, you're just kind of sitting there. Oh, is it time for a minigame? Okay, we're done.
Yeah, I don't feel that way at all. I know when I play with my friends, watching everyone's turn, is part of the ideal because you got to watch, you got to pay attention. What are they going to do? What are they setting up for? We take Mario Party seriously. You can end friendships in this game. You can start friendships on this game. You can mostly watch Luigi win. I play as Luigi, so. But yes,
you win or you die?
I always win. I always win at the last minute too. That's. I always win out of left field in the last minute with that one special roll where everyone's like, steal your star, buy a star, steal your star too. Done. I win. Which is one of the best things about Mario Party. Even if one guy's ahead by 5 stars, you can always just randomly at the last second, boom.
That's what some people think is the worst part of Mario Party, because if you earn those fucking stars,
well, maybe you should have held on to them.
Oh, fuck you!
Nothing feels better at the end than a really close race and then getting to the bonus screens did I get enough coins to win that bonus star? So, for us, we always have a really great time playing Mario Party, but with this cart rail, we don't like it because it takes away a lot of the agency as us as a player. We don't feel like we're in control of our turn. We hit up dice, something happens, and then our turn's over, and we don't feel like we've accomplished anything. We don't feel like we've had any choice, whereas before, like I said, you want to position yourself on the map, so you either race to buy the star or let someone else buy the star and set up, hopefully, so you're in front of the new star point. So on and so forth. And in sort of a concession, it feels like, in Mario Party 10 now, with their amiibo support, is that they have a sort of a classic mode, if you will, built in with the amiibos. You can place the amiibos on your Wii U, and it creates special boards that seem very similar to the old boards, although maybe not as detailed. Which actually, Mario Party 10 was a game I had thrown off my radar, but if it turns out that this classic mode is fun, is what we used to love about Mario Party, I might turn my head back and give it a try, because Lord have mercy knows, me and my friends have a ton of fun with Mario Party. But yeah, so that's Mario Party. Let's see, what else did they talk about? They officially sort of revealed Code Steam and had some Code Steam amiibo support they showed. So Code Steam is the sort of weird steampunky, like a robot Abraham Lincoln needs other important historical figures to save the world from, aliens or something.
Is it a platinum game?
No. So this is a Nintendo new IP.
Oh. I was gonna say, if this was a platinum game, you had my attention. Because, come on, you wouldn't, don't deny that's not something they wouldn't do.
Yeah, maybe.
Wonderful 101.
Yeah, well, Wonderful 101 was the mind of a very strange man. But, so this is a sort of a strategical shooter. It seems a lot closer to a sort of Valkyria Chronicles kind of play style, it seems. And of course, its amiibo support is if you have the Fire Emblem characters, you can drop them on to cut people up in your strategy shooter. I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, it's more of an XCOM or Valkyria Chronicles. It's interesting. I don't know if it's something I would get. I'm not as fond of the art style, but that's Code Steam. They kind of showed it off a lot more. Yeah, there was a lot of focus on amiibos in this Nintendo Direct. They showed a lot of games and how their amiibo support would be. Like they were pushing the amiibos or something.
I thought this was mainly 3DS stuff, honestly.
Yeah, well, that's what it seemed. It seemed split between the new 3DS, and they're revealing, new games. Like the Codename Steam and like Monster Hunter 4, which it feels very much like Monster Hunter 4 is kind of going to be the poster child for the new 3DS launch, just because the C-Stick is one of those things that Monster Hunter players and the regular 3DS have been begging for forever. And this is like, hey, we did it. Here you go. Have fun, kids. But yeah, so I think that about rounds up the Nintendo Direct. Is there anything you want to add? Anything you walked away from?
I saw that they had a Captain Toad thing.
Yeah, they had Captain Toad had an amiibo support. Put Toad on there. Kirby's what's the new Kirby they're calling? Like
Kirby's not Epic Yarn, but another yarn game.
I thought it was like Rainbow something.
I think it is Rainbow something, but
yeah. From what I saw, like Kirby's just a little ball, and you can roll around on lines you draw, and that they showed that has amiibo support.
That seems kind of cute.
Which was the big reveal. It's like, hey, we can have amiibos. You put down a Kirby one, and you get superpowers for your turn. But yeah, so a lot of amiibo support. The reveal of the new 3DS. My biggest problem with the new 3DS, of course, is that there will be no faceplates. I don't know if you kept up with the 3DS from its launch in Japan, but we are only getting the extra large new 3DS.
Are we?
So we're not getting the small version of it.
Good.
And in Japan, and probably in Europe as well, the small 3DS comes with what's known as faceplates, which you could take off the cover of it and swap it out. So like if I have a blue 3DS, I could take that off and put on, a Majora's Mask cover, or I could put on a wood cover, or, whatever I feel like. And that was what I thought was one of the coolest things, and I would have loved to, when pre-orders come around, the bonus be a faceplate so I could swap my 3DS out for the new game I'm playing. It would have been a cool thing. A lot better than having to buy a whole new console just so you could have a little decal. But unfortunately, we are only getting the large 3DS here in the Americas because I guess we have big hands or something. I don't.
We do, and that's why I appreciate it.
So I'm not as fun. I wish, honestly, if they want to just give us the big one, they should also give us faceplates with it, because it's the best feature I've seen for a handheld system, and it's dead to us.
So your best feature has nothing to even do with games?
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's called the GameCube handle. It was the greatest feature ever.
One of these days you're going to say that, and I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to snap your neck and continue on with the podcast.
It'd be worth it. Respect the GameCube handle. Portability in a console. That's what we wanted. But it felt so good. It felt so right.
Speaking of things that feel right, you know what they are finally doing?
What are they finally... How many finally? 3? Finally doing.
That was 4. They are finally making a Total Warhammer game.
All right.
Now, for those of you who can't figure out puns, they are taking the guys who made Total War and Alien Isolation, actually, the newest Total War and Alien Isolation. They are making a RTS of the Warhammer Fantasy game.
Yes.
Which I have been begging for years, because, okay.
Yeah, I saw a little bit about this, but I didn't really keep up.
Now, Total War is the RTS if you're into historical simulations.
Yes.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yes, so as long as you want historical simulations, it's Total War.
It's Total War. Now, the Dawn of War games, which are the Warhammer 40,000 equivalent.
I think we've talked about those in a previous podcast. Yeah. Go check it out.
Yeah. Those are amazing games. They are probably some of the best Warhammer 40,000 games you can buy. But the Warhammer Fantasy has never been quite as popular and their games have never been quite as good. There was an RTS for it way back in last generation.
Yeah.
At like the beginning of the generation, but it was kind of poop. So now that we're finally getting the people who do the Total War games, which is a genuinely just, if you have that name, you have the whole engine, you already have a solid game right there.
Yeah, like they already know what they're doing. They have experience.
They have experience. They could just reskin it. I don't care. And then you have Warhammer Fantasy, which I will admit is really cool and really fun, and you can play as like lizard Inca men.
Yeah.
Like South American lizard men with sacrificing your opponents and all that good stuff. And only you're a lizard. And I am sold. I am absolutely, positively, 100% sold on that.
Alright. So
what did you do with your week?
So now we're coming back. So I think what I spent my whole week was AGDQ. I watched a lot of AGDQ, and for those who don't know what that is Awesome Games Done Quick. It is a speedrun charity. And basically, it's a week-long marathon where all they do is play video games really fast.
I saw you were watching the Casio.
Yeah, so I was filling in the gaps of when I was asleep.
Because Lord knows you can't.
But yes, so if you don't watch speedruns, you should watch speedruns. Basically, how most of these work is they'll take a game, say Super Mario or whatever, and they will optimize it and use whatever knowledge they have of existing glitches and try to get from the start to the end credits as fast as they possibly can. And some of that is, memorizing enemy placements and knowing just how to jump and getting some very, very hard things to do. Pixel perfect jumps, frame perfect glitches.
I heard one guy actually did a Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time dungeon blindfolded.
Yes. So that was Runner Guy. I follow him on Twitch. He's really cool. He does a lot of these blind runs. And basically, he put on blindfolds. He played the child dungeons. So the first 3 dungeons. I think he played up until he pulled the Master Sword out. No, he played until he picked up the Ocarina of Time from Hyrule when Zelda throws it in the cutscene. But yeah, so he played all of that completely blindfold, only using his knowledge of the game.
And every audio cue.
And tons of audio cues. And he pulled off like a lot of glitches too. Lots of jumping around and doing things that, a normal player would not be doing. So it was extremely cool to watch. All the runs were extremely cool to watch. And of course, they're raising charity. So they swap around which charity they go to. This year it was the Prevent Cancer Foundation. And they raised $1.5 million for it.
Nice.
Yeah. So, of course, the best part of it is about 200,000 of those dollars was spent towards deciding whether or not they were going to kill the animals in Super Metroid or save the animals in Super Metroid.
What did they decide?
I believe Save the Animals won. It was a very cool run. All of the videos from the AGDQ are up on YouTube. If you have time, you should check them out.
Can you put them in the description?
Yeah, I could probably put those in the description. I don't normally plug things, but this is just one of those things.
You don't normally plug things.
I plug myself, but I don't plug other things. But yes, this is something you should definitely check out. It's super cool.
Check it out.
But yes, so that was pretty much my week. That playing Persona Q, but I think we'll get into that together. So
yeah, playing Persona Q. I didn't do that.
Oh.
No, I didn't do that. No, I bought some more games on Steam.
Alright.
I bought 2 games.
Go for it.
So, I believe I gave Steam Schizophrenia with these games. My Steam library, Schizophrenia.
Yeah, I have that too. I have a lot of games that I'm like, when did I even...
Okay, so...
It's better have been a Humble Bundle, because I don't remember buying this.
Okay, so you know they had an anime game sale.
Yes, I saw that.
So I was looking through it. It's like, you know what? This is cheap. I'll buy it. It was
about how Steam goes, hey look, $2. I don't even know what this is.
It was a visual novel.
Yes. So they had a couple of visual novels.
Yes, this was... Yeah, I don't even... What was it called? Oh, yes, I remember now. Go Nippon.
Yes, Go Nippon.
My first trip to Japan.
This was a game made by Japan to encourage tourism in Japan, actually.
No shit.
So you can definitely feel from the gameplay, because I played a little bit of this and seen people run this before. But yeah, so did you play it all?
I played it all.
Right.
It definitely feels like Baby's first visual novel.
Yeah, that's kind of the feel they were going for. They wanted it to be an American's first look at visual novels, and of course, trying to convince them to buy plane tickets
to Japan.
Yes, so
they did do a very good job. It's like, fuck this, that look $500. I'm not just yeah.
But yeah, it's for Baby's first visual novel. It's not the worst choice. The whole game is centered around learning about Japan
and the different districts in Tokyo and all that.
Yeah, because basically you'll spend a day and it'll be like, hey, let's go over here, and one of the girls will do this huge exposition dump.
Blah, 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 blah.
And then you get a little scene where you stare at her boobies, and then you go back to exposition dump, and that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, because there's this little subplot going on where your host girls, maybe you'll get to look at their boobies. Yeah, titties. It's rated like PG, I think.
No,
or PG-13 or something.
Probably a hard PG-13.
Yeah, it's not PG. It's PG-13 territory. So there's no actual nudity in the game, which is common in visual novels.
There's a butt.
There's a butt. Whoa, now. Rated M for mature.
But yeah, it definitely feels like Baby's first VN, because some of the... Okay, VNs don't have the most intelligent protagonists.
Yeah, well, normally VN's protagonist is just a placeholder for you.
Yes, but even then, this game kind of was like... I was thinking to myself, really? You wouldn't pick up on that? You never mind.
Yeah, as far as talking to the girls go,
it's
very much
cliche.
What are these girls? Ooh, they have boobies. I better not look. I'm so sorry. Why are you mad at me? I didn't do anything wrong.
It was very cliche.
Yes.
And maybe I was just spoiled.
Which I think for Baby's first visual novel, assuming this is the first time people jumped into these cliches, maybe it's not that bad, but for someone who
has seen anime,
has played a lot of visual novels, or played
any game, played like any JRPG,
anything with these cliches, or watched anything with these cliches, it is kind of very much
cliche-tastic.
Low level, but it's a nice little...
It's cute, is what it is.
I remember some of my favorite parts. The two girls, every now and then, they will attempt to speak English. Because the whole game, they say things in Japanese.
And it's written there. I actually thought that was kind of an interesting concept, because if you are like trying to learn to read it, you can look at it and...
Yeah. So, if you're one of my friends out there who's currently learning Japanese, maybe you should check out Go Nippon. I have a couple friends trying to learn Japanese. Best of luck.
I'm not going to learn to read it. I might learn to speak a little bit.
But yes, there are some cute scenes where the two girls try to speak English, and they're like, "Hello, how nice to meet you." And in this context, it completely makes sense that they're absolutely terrible at English. Because they are, in fact, terrible at English.
They are, in fact, terrible.
That's part of the plot.
It is, but I still felt kind of bad. It's like, ooh, this feels a little...
But, like, once it gets towards the end, and, like, the girl's, like, maybe there's a love interest going on, she's, like, tries to, like, say it in English.
Yeah, that's a bit...
And it's just like, oh, it's too moe.
No, it's not even too moe. It's just awkward for me. It was like...
it was cute for me. I thought it was it was a nice touch.
It was...
For an otherwise, pretty safe VN.
Maybe I'm just spoiled because I started with Kawa Shoujo.
I don't know. To me, Kawa Shoujo is very entry level.
Well,
my first visual novel was...
It is very entry level, but it's less entry level than that. It's long, because I did this in like 3 hours.
Yeah, well, it's not meant to be a long visual novel. Kawa Shoujo is meant to be a bit longer. But, they took 7 years to develop it. I waited for them. They delivered. Kawa Shoujo was okay.
That actually reminds me of a funny story. Okay, so I discovered this, say 3 years out, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. So I got a friend on Facebook, and he's like, I'm kind of interested in visual novels, but I don't know if I should try it. It's like, well, here, try the Kawa Shoujo demo.
Yeah.
And I go to link it to him, and that is the day they announced the release date.
Oh.
So... he's like, oh boy, I can't wait for this to come out. And I'm like, you motherfucker, I've been waiting.
Yeah.
Fucking years.
I actually read some of the original threads where they, because this was based off, 4chan made this. People who browse 4chan made this.
The developer was 4 Leaf Studios.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes, but, so a little history about this. This is stuff you can look up, but, way back in the day,
in the year 2000 something.
7 years ago, or more than that now. But people, were on 4chan being terrible people, jerking off the porn.
As you do.
And on, the last page of one of these doujins...
the special ones.
Yes. It was an H-manga, let's not lie. Was this little sort of
full-colored little...
It was just sketches. It was a sketch idea for a visual novel where all the girls are disabled. And Fortune was like, hey, that's really cool. And they started throwing ideas around, and people were like, hey, you know what? Let's do that. And they did it. And it took them 7 years, and they did a really good job.
Now, everybody's first reaction when they see this is, oh my god, this is exploitation porn. Because... what's the first thing you think of when you think visual novel?
Lots of reading.
No,
lots of reading.
I saw your head working. Your first thought was porn.
No, a lot of my first visual novels were not pornographic. And a lot of the ones that I played are ones that probably shouldn't have been pornographic in the first place.
It's porn. Everybody thinks of porn when they think of these things.
There's a lot of good visual novels out there that are not H at all.
But
Steins Gate.
Porn. They think of the porn.
I don't know. The ones I played, the porn was sort of like a shoehorn. I was like, it really shouldn't be there. I played, a lot of the old Steins Gate, Chaos Head, a lot of the old key ones, Little Busters.
Apparently a friend of mine looks like a character from Steins Gate.
Yeah, Tsukihime, Fate Stay Night, of course, where the porn was very shoehorned, and you're just like, why is this here? Probably shouldn't be here. Well, I just want to see cool female king author cutting people in half.
Well, it's a good thing the anime and everything else based off Fate Stay Night completely forgot about that, isn't it?
CG Dragon!
Anyway, but yeah, it's really not. It's... okay, there are sex scenes in it, but there's an option you can turn them off.
Yeah, so this one, a lot of visual novels now have the option to turn off, and a lot of visual novels are often ported to consoles, and so they're designed so that you can turn off
the nudity.
But
anyway,
honestly, these are just glorified books.
Anyway, but the really...
Picture books, mind you.
But the thing is, it's not exploitative in the slightest. I mean, in fact, we're going to tread into slight spoiler territory, but the way to get the bad ending is to treat the character, because you know you know what these are? These are choose your own adventure books.
Yeah, I mean, visual novels have always kind of been, they're choose your own adventure,
choose your own
picture books
with porn
on a computer with music and sounds and cute anime girls.
Anyway, like I was saying, one of the ways to get the bad ending in one route is to treat her like she's disabled, is to not treat her like you would a normal person.
Yeah.
But, yeah, anyway, that was like one of my first ones, because I'd waited 3 years for it, so... There was something else I wanted to talk about, oh yes, the other game I got, the one that gave my Steam schizophrenia. So I got
Hanako's the best.
So I got... I'm sorry, that's not how you say Shinzun.
That is a terrible choice. You have terrible taste. She's literally the worst girl. Her sidekick is better than her. Hanako's the best. Lily's pretty cool. Rin's weird.
This coming from the man
Shizune's just terrible.
This is coming from the man who likes Tharja. Anyway, so I played...
the best.
So I got cute, happy Japanese baby's first visual novel. And then I got The Cat Lady.
Yes.
Now, The Cat Lady is by, I believe it's a British studio.
Is it?
I'm not sure. They had all British voice actors, so...
Yeah, I noticed when I looked through a lot of the visual novels, they had a lot of...
This is not a visual novel, though. This is...
weird talent going on. But yes, go ahead.
The Cat Lady is kind of an old-style adventure game. It's controlled by the keyboard, no mouse input. It's written by this guy who used to be a nurse on, like, a psychiatric ward.
Alright.
So he took a lot of this inspiration. The main character is a 40-year-old British lady. She's not married currently. It opens with her suicide note.
Alright.
It opens with her dictating her suicide note. Just kind of, it's like her narrating it. And then, I can't remember what her last sentence was. It was, "Thanks for nothing. Goodbye." And then you see her slumped over in a chair as a cat stares at her. And that's how the game starts.
Great way to start.
Yes.
It's a mood setter.
It's kind of intense. So then you're, like, in the afterlife. Gonna go into a little bit of spoilers, but... Then you meet this woman called the Queen of Maggots.
Alright.
She says that she understands your pain. And she's gonna bring you back to life and remove all your pain. But you have to do one itty-bitty thing for her. There are these 5 people she calls them parasites. They are evil people, and they will want to hurt you. You have 2 advantages. 1, they don't know you're coming for them. And 2, she makes you immortal.
Alright.
So for somebody who just tried to commit suicide, this is not the best gift.
Yeah.
So it gets fucking dark.
Alright.
Okay, I will just say 2 things about the game. 2 scenes, completely out of context. And spoilers, by the way. I'm going to wait. 4, 3, 2, 1. One of the parasites likes art. He's also a serial killer. So what he does is he kills the women, and he poses their bodies using wires into the poses of the famous portraits, like the girl with the pearl earring. There's the corpse with the head, with a rod through the head, with the earring, and her eyes are being held open with, like, strings attached to fishhooks. And then another parasite... Oh, by the way, this guy stabs you to death, which proves to the woman that she is actually immortal. So this other parasite, it's a husband and wife team. She's jealous because her husband likes your pretty eyes. So she takes extra strength bleach and pours it down your fucking face while you're handcuffed to a table. You are blind for the next scene. your eyes have literally turned to jelly. And it shows you a picture of your face.
Alright.
It's fucking dark. It's creepy.
Fair enough.
It's really, 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 really good. It's got a couple alternate endings. And they also have another game that they made because...
Yeah, because to me it sounds like, from going on a point and click, it sounds like it's sort of a I have no mouth but I'm a scream kind of feel to it.
Almost.
Maybe not as science fiction-y, but...
Not as science fiction-y, much more psychologically.
Yeah. But then again, that game was intensely psychological, so...
Anyway, point is, the other bit is that these people made another game. Excuse me. Whew. These people made another game. And this game actually can't go on Steam because part of the code, like, screws up Steam's release. So they're re-releasing it for Steam in, like, 2015, and I'm probably going to get it.
Alright.
But it's really creepy, and it's really good, and it's called The Cat Lady.
Okay.
One of my main complaints, everybody's committing suicide all over the goddamn place in this game. It's just like, stop it! Okay. And let's see, did I do anything else? I played Dragon Age more. I got into a philosophical debate about the game with a friend of mine.
Alright.
Does Jungian psychology exist in Dragon Age if everybody's subconscious is actually everybody's collective subconscious is a place you can go to?
Don't ask me. It's just a video game.
Yes, but it's always fun to overthink it.
Not to me.
Well, you're boring.
To me, when you start to overthink these games and you put your English major theories into them, you kill the fun. Don't kill the fun.
It depends on what you consider fun. If you keep in mind that all this is just kind of bullshit and you're being overly analytical to like Tetris or some shit.
Yeah, well, like, that's interesting, but I always kind of see those like, alright, cool, nice fan theory, whatever. I don't know, they always came off like really dumb to me, you know. All video games are in the same universe, and like,
no, not stuff like that.
And like weird stuff and all those kind of things, they always came across me like really juvenile.
No, not stuff like that. This one I'm thinking of, this is an example.
And then on the other hand, all the English major theories like, was BioShock Infinite a story about
stories?
Yeah, or something weird, and it's just like, it was a game about shooting dudes. Nobody cares.
Well, one of the ones I'm thinking of, it's from this website that actually does a bunch of these types of things, is, what was it? It was Final Fantasy VI with Kefka? I want to say it was 6.
I don't remember.
Anyway, it was the one with Kefka. It was 6, yeah. Yeah, and if I'm wrong, you correct it in the description.
Sure.
Anyway, it was talking about how it's kind of interesting how there's a lot of medieval art iconographic icons in this final boss fight, because there are. You can't. It's not really an English major theory if the game is fucking throwing it in your face with the Pieta.
Well, you gotta understand, a lot of the Japanese games did a lot of that stuff because they thought it was cool.
No, not even this, because this was really well thought out. You could have had it be...
Because there are ones that are pretty thought out. And then there are a lot of ones like Neo Genesis Evangelion. Why are there so many Christian symbols? What do they mean? I thought they looked cool. And that happens a lot in Japan, especially when they talk about Christian stuff.
It happens a lot, but these shout-outs, if you were, to the medieval art, is actually kind of appropriate given what Kefka's goals were.
Yeah.
Which was ascend to godhood, so, whatever. Anyway, the one I wanted to talk about, actually, the one that I thought was really interesting, how much time do we have? Well, we still got some time, was they were talking about the old Clone Wars show.
Yeah.
And how, two articles specifically. One was, Clone Wars is really fucking dark for a CGI kids show.
Yeah.
It's okay because it's not even like this was released before Episode 3 and Anakin kills off all the little kiddies.
Yeah.
This was released after that, and all your 9-year-olds are like, "Yay, go Anakin!" In about 6 months or so, you get to kill somebody my age.
Yeah, you become Darth Vader. Hooray!
And it's like, is there a point to this? And then he talks about how kind of dark it is, and then he realizes, wait a second, you know what is else kind of like this? The Iliad.
Alright.
Because in the Iliad, all the heroes are godlike. Even the ones who aren't even related to gods are described with deific titles.
Yes.
And in Star Wars, especially in these prequel eras, what are the Jedi but like demigods almost?
They're Jedi. They're
demigods.
Yeah.
So if you look at it like that, is the Iliad pointless? Is all the suffering there pointless?
Sometimes, but
it's a tragedy. So no, it's not pointless. So that's one of the things he pointed out. And the other thing was actually another interesting thing was the case for Jedi exceptionalism.
All right.
Okay, now I'm going to describe something to you. Now, there is a kingdom whose ruler was overthrown and replaced with another government. Rebels against this new government are petitioning a third party, a much larger, much more powerful third party, to help them out. This third party cannot interfere directly, so they send military advisors to help them out. Now, what does that sound like?
Doesn't sound good. I'll give you that much.
That's the plot of like a 4 or 5 episode arc in the CGI Star Wars show. Okay, now Onderon's old king was overthrown.
Because I didn't watch a whole lot of the Star Wars show. Because by the time it aired, I was not watching a whole lot of Cartoon Network anymore.
Fair enough. And the early seasons are kind of rough. This was like a later season 4, season 5 type of thing.
All right.
Okay, now you're a Star Wars nerd, correct? So I can drop...
No, go
I
ahead.
can name drop planets. Okay, so the king of Onderon gets overthrown. And he's replaced with a Confederacy supporter.
Mm-hmm.
Now the people loyal to the old king are rebelling. And the Republic's like, well, we don't want to interfere directly in internal planet business, but we're going to send a few Jedi to train the rebels. And it's like, and Obi-Wan's like, that's getting kind of close to...
Like, that's not the prime directive, officer.
That's getting kind of close to interfering. And Anakin's like, no, we're just advisors. It's like, you Vietnaming Star Wars? Really?
Yeah.
Are you seriously doing that? Okay. That's kind of intense.
I mean, when you look back on it, a lot of kids' shows had a lot of intense stuff to them that we didn't really pick up on as kids. We were like, yeah, good times.
He's a good guy. He can do that. Did you ever find out... one more Star Wars trivia bit for you.
Sure.
Did you ever find out what they were going to do with the clones afterwards?
I thought they all basically turned into the Stormtroopers.
Well, they did, but you know what the Senate's plan for them was?
Oh, no.
It doesn't involve a nice little plot of land and a retirement fund.
Well, I assume that much.
It, in fact, involved a culling.
Well, that doesn't sound like a good time for those guys.
It involved finding a nice little moon to put all the clone troopers on.
And just popping the moon?
Pretty much.
Sounds like,
And they were only bred to live 5 years anyway.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it makes business sense. The people at Kimono want you to keep buying, so they give you 5-year release clones.
Well, yeah, and it also has to make sense in the story of Star Wars. In the original Star Wars, the Stormtroopers were not clones.
No, they weren't.
Anakin applied to be one. People forget that. But,
Oh, speaking of Star Wars, the new Star Wars Rebels show, really good.
Alright.
It's like, one of the characters... Okay, first of all, it recanonizes the Star Tours ride.
What?
I am not even joking. They're on a... Okay, Star Wars Rebels, they have their ship, they're doing like little rebellion stuff before the actual rebellion. And it's set during, Empire. So they're on like a little transport ship. And they're trying to like plant a bug on this lady.
Yeah. And
the droid driving the ship is the Star Tours droid. I am not even joking. As I was watching it with a friend, it's like, is that Star Tours? It is! Oh my god!
Well, all I can say is I haven't really kept up with the Star Wars extended stuff, especially a lot of the cartoons. Because I remember, I think the last time I watched the Star Wars cartoons was the original Clone Wars.
2D awesome stuff?
Yeah, the original Clone Wars animation thing that ended with like the reveal of General Grievous.
You know there was a season 2 of that, right?
Yeah, I remember that. But I remember like at the time, like it was meant to reveal General Grievous and lead up to
badass.
The terrible movie that followed.
It wasn't terrible.
It was pretty bad.
No, it wasn't even really pretty bad.
Especially because my experience walking in was I saw these cool little cartoons that revealed the awesome General Grievous, and in the movie he spends the whole time coughing up a lung only to like lose his only fight.
Well,
he was not.
Yes, but let's be honest, none of the Star Wars movies are terrible.
The first 3 are pretty bad. The episode 1.
No, not even.
Is atrocious.
Star Wars Holiday Special levels.
That's something completely different. Like,
no,
if you're going to bring them down to the Star Wars Holiday Special...
Exactly. As a movie, if it didn't have the Star Wars label on it, it'd be a middling sci-fi family thing. But because it has the Star Wars label on it, we demand so much of it. It's not a bad movie.
You know what?
Jar Jar was pretty fucking racist, but it's not a bad movie.
The big thing they're trying to stop is a trade confederation's trading. Like,
even that makes sense in context because that's
I'm gonna lay this on the line for you. When you go and you see a movie about epic space adventures, you don't want the big kinchpin that they're all fighting for to be a trade deal.
But if you didn't have this...
Especially when you have these cool Jedi and this war going on, you're just like, what are we fighting for again? Why do we keep having 12 main characters? Who's important here?
If it wasn't for the Star Wars label, just take off the Star Wars label.
Nobody would have watched it.
It would have been a middling sci-fi movie.
Nobody would have watched it.
The
people who watched it would have been like, this is stupid.
And they wouldn't have said it's stupid. They would have said, it's alright.
They would have said, that was stupid. What did I just watch?
Yeah, never mind.
And maybe they would have liked Jar Jar Binks.
No, actually, that's pretty unforgivable.
I don't know. Jar Jar Binks was the only thing I liked about the first movie because at least I completely understood him. He's an idiot. Like, he doesn't make any sense in the context of Star Wars, but it gave me something to laugh at. Something to enjoy. Nothing else was fun. Maybe when he said, now this is pod racing.
You didn't like Liam Neeson as a Jedi?
He didn't do anything. He stood around the whole time.
Oh, bullshit.
And then he died.
You go into the corner and think about what you said. Liam Neeson is cool.
Liam Neeson is a great actor. I love him. He didn't do anything in the Star Wars prequel.
You just sit in the corner.
He sat around and he's just like, young Obi-Wan, don't be a douche. And then Obi-Wan was a douche. And nobody cared because then Qui-Gon Jinn was dead and Obi-Wan did his magic circle flip from the... It was dumb. It was dumb.
You just stop, okay?
It was dumb.
Just take it deep.
No one is on your side here. It was dumb.
No one in this room is on my side. But I know people who agree with me, so...
Those people have terrible... I'm going to put it on the level. I am standing firm on this one. The Star Wars Episode 1 was a terrible movie.
No, you are completely missing...
Terrible.
You are completely missing the point. Star Wars Episode 2... even from a completely neutral standpoint, was a fucking terrible movie. Episode 1 wasn't bad. Episode 3, not bad.
Of all of them, episode 3 was probably the best, but that's not really saying too much.
Episode 2 is far worse than episode 1.
Well, episode 2 had a lot of the same problems episode 1 had.
No, it had more problems. Ahem, I hate sand. It's so sandy and coarse.
They're all bad movies. I don't know why you're trying to defend them at all.
Actually, if you want to do it like that, the originals aren't good either. Because let's be honest. We may have forgotten, but let's not forget the fucking Ewoks, shall we?
Everyone loves the Ewoks.
No!
They're cute! They're cute and they're destructive.
No. Let's get one thing straight here. When that movie came out, nobody loved the Ewoks. They were the Jar Jar Binks of the early 90s.
And you know 80s. What? Jar Jar Binks was the only good part of this movie, so there.
Okay, and also, the romance between Han and Leia, fucking terrible. The reason Harrison Ford ad-libbed so many of those lines there and actually made it halfway decent is because George Lucas wrote shit for him.
Well, yeah, and he did that, and that's why we love him, because of those ad-libs.
But those movies aren't good to begin with. None of the Star Wars movies...
Are you just going publicly and saying the Star Wars movies are not good to begin with?
I am going publicly and saying...
Alright, I think this discussion is done. We have someone with terrible taste in the room.
Let me finish my goddamn sentence. The Star Wars movies are... good science fiction. They are mediocre to good movies. They are not Academy Award winners. They tell a good story in a decent amount of time, but they are not Citizen Kane's. They are not even Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, and Citizen Kane's boring. Why would we want to raise it to that level?
And I still think Blade Runner is shit. So.
Blade Runner is good. Star Wars is good.
Star Wars is good.
Of the original trilogy, sure. The last one was kind of not the strongest one, but they were all still really good movies. And everyone knows A New Hope was a fantastic movie. It was set up just right. It followed all the stupid, path of the hero stuff to the T. And that's what made it great, because we hadn't seen that in space yet. Or at least hadn't seen a decent one in space yet.
I really like the Star Wars movies. I like them all, except Episode 2. So I will defend all of them. But I know they're not the best. They're trashy, and they're pulpy, and they're fun. And that's all there is to it. End of story.
The prequel sucked. Alright. So, with that out of the way, you want to wrap things up?
Hold on, let me think. There was something else. I hit my brain when we were talking about Star Wars.
Probably shouldn't hit your brain. Might need that.
It doesn't have any nerve endings in it. It won't hurt.
It's true. He thinks Star Wars is terrible. It's obviously not working.
I don't think Star Wars is terrible.
You just went on record saying it was not a good movie. Those were your words.
Hey, read between the lines, buddy. Anyway. Shoot. Come on. It was just there just a second ago. Fuck. Anything you want to add before we end?
I don't know. Since we keep promising Persona Q and we never deliver it, I think I'll wrap my piece up with that game so I can put it away. No spoilers, of course, because
yes,
present company. But Persona Q, for those of you who don't pay attention too much to it, is the sort of crossover between the characters of Persona 3 and 4 and the gameplay of the Eldran Odyssey.
Yeah, I was going to say Eldran.
So, and gameplay-wise, it's absolutely fantastic. It gets all the right marks. If you want this kind of gameplay,
if you like Eldran Odyssey,
you should probably play Eldran Odyssey, though, because the problem with this game comes from the characters. And what I mean by that, if you're an avid Persona fan, you're gonna fall right in and be like, yay, it's my characters, great. If you're not a Persona fan, the entire game
is completely inaccessible.
Is totally fan service for fans of Persona 3 and Persona 4. Every scene, every set of dialogue. Basically, in Persona 3 and Persona 4, you had characters, and they went through arcs, and they evolved, and they got better. In Persona Q, they're caricatures. What's that? Teddy likes the ladies? Let's have him make that joke 5,000 times.
To be fair, he had made that joke 5,000 times in Persona 4.
Yeah, they made that joke all while going through existential crises and trying to figure out who he was. And
no, he just made that joke. I really fucking hated Teddy.
Yeah, a lot of people really hated Teddy. But, all the characters sort of go through this same treatment. Yosuke is...
To be fair,
no longer, the guy who lost his girl, but is really only here for adventure and is kind of trying to deal with the fact he's sort of hypocritical but doesn't want to be. Instead, this one, he's always the straight man in our jokes. Let's have him be that forever.
To be fair to this game takes place in between the end of Persona 3 and the end of Persona 4 with time travel shenanigans.
I think it takes place between the middle of the two games.
Yes. So of course they're not going to be the characters from the end of the game.
Well, no. The problem is these characters can't go through arcs. They can't grow. They can't evolve. They can't do any of that because, of course, they're locked. They go through their arcs in their own games. But in here, they just take, what's that? I guess talks like a robot? Let's have her do robot things. Yay!
Yeah.
And, if you're a fan of the series, it's nice because you get to see the two characters mash up.
I think you're just being a bit overly critical. I mean, when you heard about this game, what else did you think it was going to be than just happy?
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. This game is great if you're a fan of the Persona series, but beyond that, it has no other appeal.
And I don't think it was ever supposed to.
I don't know. I think they could have done things where this game actually, they have their own original character in this one, which is normal for these kind of
crossover
crossovers.
Events. Yeah.
Because they need a character who can actually go through these arcs, and that's Zen and Rei. And so the whole game is seeing caricatures of the people you like, dancing and having fun, while these other two characters are over in the corner actually going through character arcs. And the gameplay is fantastic, but it's Eldraine Odyssey. And you could play the same thing in actual Eldraine Odyssey without having to worry about having played Persona 3 and Persona 4.
You act like this is a bad thing, but...
Well...
You act like Super Robot Wars is bad because none of the characters go through arcs.
Well, in that game, it is the crossover, and it's a lot of fan service, and this game is a lot of fan service. But Super Robot Wars
that's actually
is
a bad
fan service
example.
Across a bunch of series.
And,
it is a glorified mecha jerk-off.
It's still a bunch of fan service.
Yeah, well, it's a glorified mecha jerk-off.
And this is a glorified Persona jerk-off. What's the difference?
This is two games that we're jerking off to. This is like taking...
It's the two games that put this series, that ensured that this series continued to exist in America. So, yes, they're gonna...
Well, the problem comes when
They're gonna milk that cash cow.
I think they should be milking that cash cow. I can't recommend this game.
He says this as there's a Persona 4 computer desktop.
Yeah.
Right here.
I mean, I like the series. I like the games that originally came out. They were good games. I don't really need 40 different remade versions and having added extra characters that weren't originally in the games that I played on my PS2. You get what I'm saying?
No, but I won't argue it anymore.
So, I can't recommend Persona Q unless you're a avid, rabid fan of the Persona series, in which case, enjoy your glorious wink off.
Just make sure to clean up.
Yeah, and that's Persona Q. So
whatever, dude. Whatever. I still say the Persona 4 opening with Nanako talking to Kanji is the fucking best thing ever.
Yeah, it's cute to see these characters that you all love, and you're like, yay! But when you've experienced them as actual characters, and now they've been reduced to caricatures, it kind of feels like a downgrade.
Eh.
And it's just
At least you're not bitching about the art.
I mean, the art's fun. It's a 3DS art.
It's cute little chibis.
Yeah, like, it's fine. I can deal with it.
Chie is the cutest little chibi.
You know,
Oh
instant kill spells are way overpowered in this game.
Naoto is way overpowered. Period.
Naoto is just the best. Period.
And you were giving me shit for my bad taste.
Naoto's the best.
Oh, God. Lord, give me
She
strength.
kills everything.
Lord,
best character.
give me strength from this Chie apostate.
Chie is like the worst character. Especially in this one, where her entire character is boiled down to, I like meat.
And that wasn't what it was already boiled down to?
No.
I'm talking about in the other spin-off games, like Arena.
In Arena, she actually had arcs.
No, she didn't.
What happened at the end of Persona 4 Arena with Chie? She has a nice arc where she's like, you know what? I'm going to be a police officer. I grew from this.
She already made that decision in Persona 4. She already was going to do that in Persona 4. This was basically her, well, I already have the application. This was basically you saying, I'm going to go. This was basically the difference between, like, you in real life saying, I'm going to go apply for this job. And then Persona 4 Arena was her, well, I got the application now I'm going to fill it out. She didn't have an arc. She was just... Chie's arc in Persona 4 Arena was getting the paperwork.
No, her whole arc was she went, she met Akihiko, she met all the other people, she realized how small she was in comparative. So at that point, she hits her resolve and says, you know what? I'm going to be as good of a police officer to live up to Akihiko,
she
to live up to all these other people.
Made that decision in Persona 4.
What you're not seeing, though, is when the game starts, she starts with thinking about it and having doubts and not sure what she wants to do. And then over the course of this game, she has what's called a character arc. And it doesn't matter if she reaffirmed in the other game. That's not this game.
Well then, why are you giving Persona Q shit for not
Because
doing that?
they don't even have that. Chie is, I like meat. I like meat.
Whatever. That was her in Persona 4
I
Arena.
like meat. No.
Yes, it was. And I think we better end this before we start getting into fistfights.
So that's Persona 4Q. Glorified fan service for a niche art market. Hopefully, when Persona 5 comes out, we can have some real Persona again.
This was real Persona.
This was not the gameplay of Persona. This was not the characters of Persona. This was glorified fan service.
Whatever, dude.
And it wasn't even good glorified fan service. For that, we have dancing all night.
You are the world's biggest shit. You are a piece of shit that is hanging onto somebody's butt, and I am waiting for the toilet paper of fate to come and wipe you away and toss you down into the toilet of misfortune so you can rot in the septic tank of your failure!
That's really edgy, Angry Video Game Nerd. Really edgy.
Oh, fuck off.
So, next week, what do we got planned?
You have planned not finishing Hyrule Warriors?
Yes, so of course we gotta tack that up. I'm never gonna finish Hyrule Warriors, but I'm gonna finish it.
You're never gonna finish Bayonetta.
I'm never gonna finish it, but I'm gonna finish it.
You're never gonna finish Bayonetta.
So, done with Bayo 1, working on Bayo 2.
How was Bayo 2 fun?
Bayo 1, it was a lot of fun. I think I like Bayo 2 a little bit more.
I
I
really
don't know, it feels a lot more focused to me.
I actually really like Bayo's design in 2 a lot more. She looks a lot better with short hair.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is, that game's optimized for the Wii U, and so everything looks a little bit better.
Did you do any of, like, the Nintendo stuff with Bayo 1?
Yeah, I messed around with that. I'll go into that in review. I don't know, I think I may play that, and Wonderful 101, and Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, and I have some other Platinum games. I'm trying to do a big Platinum. I do not have Legend of Korra. I'm going to leave that one out.
Why? It's a Platinum game.
It's a bad Platinum game. It's a bad Platinum game.
You know what? I'm not even... We already had like a 40-minute argument.
Yes, so we've argued this before. I'm right, you're wrong. What are you doing next week?
I am playing more Dragon Age. I am trying to finish this stupid game so I can actually play Dragon Age Inquisition before the sun burns out. And I am doing I am doing what I'm calling my 6 months of BioWare.
Alright. So I'll be doing my 6 months of Platinum. You'll be doing your 6 months of BioWare. One of us will have fun. It's going to be me. Hate to say it.
I like BioWare.
But yeah, so sounds like a good plan.
Yep.
Wave 4 Amiibo's coming out. There goes my wallet.
Your wallet recovered?
No, but no time to be worrying about recovery.
No time to worry
when
about...
When figures are out. Slippery slope, everybody. Stay on it.
Enjoy your crack.